Ladies and gentlemen, this is White Lightning 777. Watching the news about the Ukraine thing. There's reason for, I don't know, pessimism or optimism, however you want to put it. Regardless of whether Putin successfully subjugates Ukraine or gets the easternmost provinces that he originally wanted or not, Russia's doomed. They just don't know it yet. You see, you ever read 36 Stratagems, The Art of War? Russia's a junior partner in this axis of evil, or whatever you want to call it. Who pulls the strings? The Chinese Communist Party pulls the strings. People who launched an unrestricted bioweapon upon the world and got away with it. Hacked voting machines is now using their puppet Biden to play good cop, bad cop with Putin. Sure, he wanted to go into Ukraine, I'm sure, he always has. China probably said, oh, don't worry, we'll back up your money. We'll buy the oil. They can put sanctions on you. Sanctions, by the way, never changed a damn thing against any kind of dictator. I mean, they're just sort of a feel-good thing. They slow them down, I guess, put some sand in the gears, but they don't actually stop anything. It's a delaying tactic. You see, forget about Ukraine. Look at Russia. I mean, Putin's claims that that he's boxed in are ridiculous. Sure, the NATO countries of the West, but go east. Russia has the largest land area in the world. Any sensitive materials, items, whatever, they could put it on the other side of the Ural Mountains. He could put it in Kamchatka if he wants. He doesn't need any extra land. He doesn't need any buffer zones. The country is a buffer zone. The largest country in the world has the smallest reason to invade anybody else. And go east. There's access to the Pacific Ocean. If Putin was really serious, if he really felt boxed in, the logical thing to do is to build more roads, more train tracks, more pipelines to access the Pacific, to set up port cities on that coast and get direct, it's a straight shot to California, South America. But there's another individual who wants to do that. Go to a map, put your finger on South Korea, and go north. Go into North Korea, go into China, and eventually, sooner than you think, you're going to get into Russia. Follow the Russian Pacific coast upward. Follow it up past Kamchatka. And then when you get to the top, what you're going to do is you'll turn and you'll turn northeast. And as you do, you'll almost come to the tip of Alaska. Remember Sarah Palin's famous quote, I can see Russia from my house? Well, that's an exaggeration. But when you look at the closeness of that area, I mean, during the last ice age, when the ocean level was lower, there was actually a land bridge between North America and Asia. There's plenty, you never hear of the tunnel, what they call the tube, between the UK and France, I believe. You could easily put a high-speed rail there. You could put a road there, as long as it's, obviously due to the weather, you'd have to have it enclosed, or you could just barely go under the ocean. High speed. With China has something called Belt and Road. And the fastest way to move goods and services isn't even barges or cargo ships, and certainly not airplanes. If you want to move the most stuff, the quickest, the way to do that is on a train, on tracks, have vehicles. See, once Russia bleeds itself dry or runs out of funds, I mean, they may even just give the land to China. They gave Alaska to the United States. They may just say, oh, well, that's too much. Or China will take it. Russia is selling China the rope with which to hang itself. Sell them planes, sell them nukes, and whatever else, missiles. Of course, China takes these things, rips them apart, vastly improves them, makes them lighter, faster, stronger, and more advanced. Every single weapon Russia sells China improves and doesn't get back to Russia. So, China is amassing, thanks to Putin, a superior military force, and they have way the hell more money. And what are they going to do? They're going to take Siberia. They're going to take the eastern part. And once they have that strip of land, they're going to do what they've done in Africa. They're going to do what they have in Pakistan. They're going to do what they have in many other parts of the world and build infrastructure, ports, and they're going to build that belt and road. And, due to greed and the unwise judgment of America, once they build that road to Alaska, they're going to build a bridge. And due to greed and trade, no doubt, the Alaskans will, Alaska government, the United States, Canada, will be more than happy to give them another highway. Highway that'll go into Alaska, down along the coast, oil from Prudhoe Bay and past that. And once it drops down into Canada, of course, they'll have access to North America through trains, through roads, and they'll have the ability to move goods and services at a whole order of magnitude greater than what they can now. That's their plan. It's all about the money. It's not about the ideology or about Putin. Well, I want to build the Russian Empire, and Ukraine was part of Russia, whatever. I mean, Putin can get up into his head about that, but that's not the point. He's a fool. He's stuck in the past. He's been there too long. And once, of course, at the right time or the wrong time, I'm sure, no doubt, at behest of China, the oligarchs are probably going to turn on him. Putin's going to end up being shot in the middle of the town square like Mussolini or Ceausescu was in Romania. He's doomed. Russia's doomed. And in the end, Chinese Communist Party is going to win. Just another step on theirs toward world domination. That's the plan. I mean, they can yell about, well, we're going to take over Taiwan. Not really. In 1979, China tried to go into Vietnam and got their ass kicked. By the way, this proves that a smaller country can beat the crap out of a larger country. And Ukraine's punching way above their weight. That's the point. China knew, unlike Russia, that, Ukraine has advanced military equipment. China knew that Donald Trump gave them all kinds of advanced javelins, Stinger missiles, and whatnot. Probably should have given them more. Poland's about ready to send MiGs over, MiG-29s over to Ukraine. I mean, they just have to figure out where to fly, how to fly them in, and where to land them. They need runway. Russia still hasn't established air superiority. The latest fatality assessment that America has, it said that within like 12 days, 4,500 Russians have been killed. Ukraine's saying it's closer to 10,000. This is not sustainable. Russia is going to be in a quagmire. They got their ass kicked out of Afghanistan. Basically, they tried the same thing and got the same results. I mean, there's a saying, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. There's also another one, insanity's repeating the same mistakes over again and expecting different results. I mean, when a country gives AK-47s to every single man between the ages of 18 to 60 and says, have fun, and they have 45 million people, I mean, you can blow shit up and drop bombs, but you're not going to control that country. They can run an insurgency there for the next 20, 30, 40 years. Look at even the IRA, and look at the England and the UK and stuff. I mean, these things, I mean, they can literally, I mean, the Irish literally were fighting the English for about 800 years. This is not sustainable. Putin's been lured into a trap. He's sinking in that trap. And he's doomed. And by the way, he richly deserves to be. Problem is, of course, CCP is still more of a threat. We have to, try to intercede and get China to pull Russia off of them. Yeah, right. That'll work. Well, China's putting them up to it in the first place. You'll see Russia's going to lose their land. They're going to lose this war. And China will have even more access to North America, even more access to trade, and even more of an ability to drain the West of its money, selling us the rope with which to hang ourselves. And eventually, of course, the United States, Canada, our number's going to come up too. Because the CCP plays for keeps. They've got a 50-year plan, they got a 100-year plan to rule the world, and Putin may think his campaign's on schedule. Nope. But Xi Jinping's campaign to take over the world is on schedel. Even behind. used a coronavirus and a Dominion computer virus to steal an election. By the way, there's a new documentary coming out. I believe it's called 2,000 Mules by Dinesh D'Souza that has devastating details on how the election was stolen. Just I don't think it's out yet, but it's going to be coming out. Highly recommend looking at it when it does. Anyway, I got to go to work. This is White Lightning 777 signing out. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Russia is Doomed, Part 2. Man, it will sum up Putin's insanity in a little bit greater detail. He has 6 demands, none of which are supported by international law. He wants Ukraine to agree not to join NATO. Fact is, Ukraine's a sovereign country, and like any other sovereign country, they have the right to enter into treaties or alliances or to not enter treaty or alliances with any other country. Joining NATO in no way violates international law, and frankly, since Russia has the largest land area in the world, they can locate any kind of sensitive assets or personnel far, far away from NATO's prying eyes with the land they have. Joining NATO, Putin's demands that another country not join NATO or to set the foreign policy of another country is ridiculous. I mean, this is almost what you would call minstrel. Okay, say you have your daughter, 12 years old, beats up another girl because she wants to hang out with those other friends and doesn't want to be my friend. Well, you'll either give her a Midol or you'll take a belt and give her a spanking and tell her not to do that. Well, unless, of course, she's Vladimir Putin. Okay? It's ridiculous. I mean, the Putin is a grown man acting like a snitty little girl and then starting a horrific war over that. It's unbecoming of Russia. It's unbecoming of him personally, and it's an embarrassment that a grown man acts like that. I mean, this geopolitical influence isn't anything. This is stupid. There's no such thing as geopolitics. There's jackass politics. And he's just acting like a whiny little girl. So the other demand that he has is that Ukraine remain bilingual with Russian and Ukraine. Well, they're mainly bilingual anyway. Again, this has no support in international law. For one thing, Russia itself is not bilingual. Russia has a single language. Canada is bilingual. They have chosen French and English as their official language. There is no violation of international law for a country to have an official language. I mean, the official language of Italy is Italian. America technically does not have an official language, which would be English, even though people want it to, or to have none at all. This is not, Putin's acting like this is somehow a human rights violation, requiring Ukrainians to speak Ukraine. The fact is, it's not. This objection has no legal or rational basis, and it is unprecedented for one country to dictate the number of languages spoken in other countries. I mean, this is ridiculous. And start a war over nothing. The other thing, of course, he wants to keep Crimea, which is what he stole back in 2014. No apparent reason why. Ukraine might have been part of Russia anyway, but he has no right to that land either. Russia already has access to the Black Sea. They have access to the whole damn Pacific Ocean. They'd get off their ass and build some roads and some railroad and tracks and ports and do it themselves instead of maybe letting China do it for them. They could have access to the Pacific Ocean. They have access to all kinds of water. It's ridiculous. They have Lake Baikal, deepest freshwater lake in the world. What the hell do they need Crimea for? I mean, they don't. They could get out another way. It's totally unnecessary. It might be economically advantageous, but it's unnecessary. The other thing they want to free is these Ukrainian territories. Donetsk and Lugansk or whatever, these breakaway provinces. I mean, now allegedly these provinces had a referendum to break away from Ukraine, and of course that election was just as crooked as the one that got Vladimir Putin elected. At minimum, they would have to vote again and do so with observers from around the world to make sure it's fair. There's no reason why the hell they need those provinces. If Russians in those areas are being mistreated, Russia has the largest landmass in the world. And frankly, they don't have enough manpower to run it. If they can invade Ukraine with their army, they could certainly take Russian civilians out of Ukraine. Ukraine has not in any way confined these people to that area because they don't, and is making them speak Ukrainian. They're free to leave. If they're being mistreated, if he's that concerned about his citizens, the most cost-effective thing to do is relocate them. Pull them out. That's what you do with your nationals or people that you feel a kinship with. Of course, fifth demand, of course, he wants a country to demilitarize. It's none of his business. A sovereign country has the right to, whatever the hell kind of size military it wants. They even have the right to build nukes and other WMDs if they want to, as long as they're not a rogue state and they otherwise obey the rules and sign on to the relevant treaties. But they don't even have to do that. Technically, just building a nuke is not illegal. Lying about it, whatever. And then he also has this other rule. He doesn't want any Nazis in Ukraine, no extremists. Okay, well, Russia hasn't banned its own extremists. There are a few dipshit skinheads in Russia that are having white power concerts right now. They haven't banned any of those parties. Heck, in many cases, they've encouraged them. And the idea that you're going to invade a country because it has a few Nazis and drug addicts in there, well, really? How many drunks are in Russia? And the Azov or Azon or whatever party it is in Ukraine, those far-right parties have not even gotten 5% of the vote. They've got just under 5% of the vote. Zelensky, who is Jewish, won with 75% of the vote. By the way, we've never had a Jewish president in America either. Just saying. Well, Ivanka Trump will be our first, probably in 2028, or if Trump's too sick to run in 2024, maybe. So the idea that they're controlled by Nazis with 5%, no, that's not the way elections work. And besides, technically, having Nazi parties, white power concerts, and a population with a drug problem, and people who vote for stupid politicians and say stupid things is not a war crime. We have this in our country. Using the same logic, China could say, well, you got a few Nazis in the hills of Kentucky and a lot of junkies in Baltimore, so we're invading the United States. You could use that claim to justify invading anybody. And it doesn't make sense at all. Now, of course, we don't really want people voting for Nazis and skinheads and government and, well, I don't know, maybe let them run the dog pound or something, but that's not a violation of international law. As long, of course, the individuals who are elected are still beholden to the Geneva Conventions and so on, regardless of their viewpoints. Putin's grievances have no basis in fact. They're based purely on his emotions, and even if implemented, they would not be cost effective. I mean, adding that small amount of territory to Donetsk and Lugansk pronunciation's horrible, will do nothing for Russia one way or the other. It'll damage Ukraine a lot. The fact is that Khrushchev gave part of Russian land to Ukraine because his wife was Ukrainian, because he was banging her and she was gorgeous and he wanted to make her happy. They gave away that land back when they were the USSR. And Putin wants it back? Well, he ain't getting Alaska back either. Okay? That was an unforced error on the part of his predecessors, on the part of the same KGB and the same party that he was a part of. He can deal with it. And it's not a particularly dangerous unforced error. Russia's doomed. The updates, I think the casualty rate now for their soldiers, Ukraine, it was up from 4,000 to, because I did the first video a few days earlier, um, up to like 15,000 now. You know, unfortunately, Poland still hasn't sent the MiGs over because the Maskol in chief, Mr. Poopy Pants, Joe Biden, has apparently is too scared to send 40-year-old planes over to Ukraine. You know, but it's good to see Putin lose. And a lot of people liked Putin. I mean, a lot of people thought, oh, he carried himself off as like a evangelical of the Orthodox Church, that I am defending Christianity and old values, and I don't want Michael Jackson type people messing with the kids and stuff like that. Carried himself to be so pious. Oh, he cares about Europe and the West and preserving. The fact remains that all of it's a lie. He's just another idiot. He's just another royalist. He's just another czarist, uh, with a, King George III or Ivan the Terrible mentality that kills his own people that look like him. And not only that, people that can actually literally speak to him. That, Ukraine's already bilingual. I mean, basically, they teach Russian in the school. They read Russian classics. They're just taught in the same school. It's stupid. And Putin's going to lose. He's losing now. He might, and if he does something stupid like throw nerve gas or a nuke, Biden's generals are eventually going to throw him out. He'll be found to have dementia the day after Russia explodes a nuke, and possibly, or Europe possibly, will deal with it. NATO will get involved, and Russia will get the ass kicking of a lifetime. The Siberian tiger Russian army is a paper tiger. They're losing. They're just using long distance weapons, that things they don't have to engage with face to face with. That's all they can do. They use hypersonic missiles. They're literally running out of missiles that work. They have a lot of missiles, most of them don't work. Russia's doomed. And Putin, hey, if you're watching things and surfing YouTube and Rumble and all these channels, see what people think about you. One, every American thinks you suck. Even people that sympathized with you now hate you. Okay? Two, you're doomed. Get your ass out of Ukraine. Save yourself while you still can. Dastanyana, punk. This is White Lightning 777. Long live the Republic.